Yo, what's up? I'm back with another video, and today I'm gonna be continuing my versus series, and I'm gonna be talking about who is the better player between Kevin Durant and Giannis Antetokounmpo, two guys that are making the case of being the best player in the world right now. As at one end, you got Kevin Durant, who solidified himself as one of the greatest scorers and one of the most skilled players of all time. And at the other end, you got Giannis, who also solidified himself as one of the greatest defenders and one of the most dominant players of all time. As today I'm going to be talking about who is the better player between these two. But before I get started with this video, make sure y'all like, subscribe to my channel, hit that bell for notifications, make sure y'all follow me on Instagram. My link's down below in the description box. And let's get started with this versus video and talking about who is the better player between Giannis and KD. As I'm going to be starting off with the Slim Reaper himself, Kevin Durant. When you talk about one of the most lethal players in the league right now, Kevin Durant's name definitely has to be brung up. As this man, he could do it all on the offensive side of the ball. Mid-range, check. Three-point shooting, check. Drive it to the rim, check. And guess what? Throw down a mean dunk, check. And for all the people saying Michael Jordan is without a doubt the greatest scorer of all time just because he has 10 scoring titles, please, let's cut that shit down. In my opinion, I think KD's the greatest scorer of all time because what he could do on the offensive side of the ball is unfucking believable. That's the reason why he has 4 scoring titles and one of those seasons winning the MVP. As this man is 7 feet tall, which makes the nigga unguardable, obviously. Because this nigga, he can just shoot over anybody. And you already know that bitch is in. Because KD, man, you can't just go. You can't guard this dude. Like they said, you can't teach height. And for all the people saying, all he can do is score, yeah, let's cut that shit down too. Because as a playmaker, I think he's severely underrated. Because people like to talk about his scoring abilities. But as a playmaker, I think he hasn't been getting enough credit on that departure, because as a playmaker, he can pass out of the post, he can pass out of double teams. That's the reason why you see guys like Bruce Brown be cutting to the basket, because of all the attention that KD gets. Because every time when they double team KD, Bruce Brown cuts to the basket and gets an easy ass bucket. And let's be real, Bruce Brown probably wouldn't be where he is right now without Kevin Durant. Like, let's be real. Because with the Pistons, he kind of stinked. But ever since he got to Brooklyn, he has been a big role to that team. And that's mostly thanks to KD and some of that to James Harden when he was there. And another thing that people don't talk about when Kevin Durant's game is his defense. Because as a defender, I don't think he's been getting enough credit neither. Because as a defender, man, he could do it all as well. Sure, he's not like elite at it or nothing, but he's no liability. Because as a rim protector, I think he's very severely underrated. And he can also switch and keep up with some guards because of his length, pause. So yeah, Kevin Durant as a defender, he's not no liability. He's a really good defender. And then you can also talk about his handles, because he kind of did revolutionize some unicorns like Giannis to handle the ball at that size. Because KD, man, he has handles of a guard. That's the reason why this man is one of the most unstoppable players. And in my opinion, I think he is the most unstoppable player of all time. Because nobody can't guard this nigga. Like nobody can't guard this nigga. That's the reason why he is the greatest scorer of all time, in my personal opinion. But as much as I want to get to all of KD's strengths, I have to get to the weaknesses. And to be honest, I really don't got that many weaknesses for KD. Except he has been kind of injury prone lately. Because ever since that 2018 year, I believe Kevin Durant hasn't played over 60 games. And then last year, he only played like 35 games. And now this year, he's on pace of missing another 60 games. So yeah, KD, he has been kind of injury prone. And it's safe to say he is injury prone in like 4 years, I believe. So yeah, Kevin Durant, he hasn't been that available. And like they said in the NBA, the best ability is availability. And KD, he really hasn't been that available. And then obviously he missed the rest of the season with that Achilles injury, so we got to take that into consideration. But yeah, outside of that, KD, he really doesn't have that much weaknesses. Well, I got one more weakness for him, and that's he's really not that elite at everything else other than his scoring, because he's not an elite defender. He's not no liability, like I said, but he's not elite. He's not an elite playmaker. So yeah, outside of his scoring, KD, he really doesn't bring much of anything to the table. I'm not saying he's good at it, but he's not elite at it. He's not like Rudy Gobert on defense or LeBron James at playmaking. So outside of his scoring, he's really not that elite at everything else. But I'm not here to just shit on KD. He's still an all-time great talent. He's still a freak of nature. He's still a one-of-a-kind. But you want to know who else is a one-of-a-kind and a freak of nature? Is his opponent, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning Finals MVP himself. So let's get to Giannis. My guy Giannis, man. This nigga right here, this man is the true definition of dominance. That's the reason why you have to build a wall around this guy, because that goes to show how dominant Giannis is. And he has a resume that most Hall of Famers don't got. NBA champion, check. Finals MVP, check. Two-time MVP, check. Defensive Player of the Year, guess what? Check. So Giannis has every accolade to his resume. And people like to still keep disrespecting this dude all because of Kevin Durant's foot being too big on the line. Yeah, I don't want to hear that bullshit. Giannis still got the job done and absolutely destroyed the Brooklyn Nets. Then go on to destroy the Atlanta Hawks before he got hurt. And then absolutely beat the shit out of the Phoenix Suns, averaging over 35 a game and including one of the greatest performances in playoff history with a 50-piece in Game 6 and rejecting everybody's shit. I believe he blocked Devin Booker 3 times in that game. So yeah, Giannis, he's already solidified himself as not just a top 30 player of all time, arguably a top 20 player of all time, because not that many people have his resume. Because this man, as an offensive player, sure, he's not like KD is. He doesn't have the bag like James Harden is. But I think he is still one of the greatest, best scorers in the league. And as his handles, I think it's been getting a bit underrated. Sure, he doesn't have the handles of Kyrie Irving or Steph Curry. He doesn't have the bag like James Harden, like I said. But it's not that big of a gap. Giannis, he still got handles. That's the reason why he's be pushing it coast to coast and be throwing down a mean dunk, because that's how much skill he is. And I don't hear shit about he has no skill. He has skill. Just watch his film real carefully. You'll see what I'm talking about. And on the defensive side of the ball, we already know what he can do on that side of the ball, as he's one of the greatest defenders, not just of his generation, but of all time. That explains the Defensive Player of the Year and the all defensive teams. And he can switch on everything, guard every single position, 1 through 5. 1 through 5. He's one, and he's the best help defender in the league right now. And that's no gap neither. Like, that's a complete wash. As sure, you got LeBron James who can help defense, but Giannis, he's been showing big efforts on that defensive side of the ball. Like, he just moved everywhere. That's why, in my opinion, I think he's the best help defender in the league. But as much as I want to get to Giannis' strengths, I got to get to the weaknesses. And there's plenty of them. First off, we'll start with shooting. Because, sure, Giannis, he is improved at the free throw line, but he's still not an elite free throw shooter. That's the reason why his teams keep following him still, because he might split the free throw or even potentially miss both of them, as we even seen in the playoffs a couple of years ago. That's the reason why the Bucks hasn't been that much successful lately, because Giannis's inabilities to shoot free throws. And he's still not a great 3-point shooter. As sure, Giannis has the confidence to shoot it, unlike that loser Ben Simmons. But hey, every time when Giannis shoots a 3, it does begin a bit annoying, because sure, Giannis, he has the confidence, but Giannis, please quit taking 3s too much. Like, I don't care if you make like 3 threes in a row. Please stop shooting and just stick to your game. Please. But hey, outside of that, I really don't got that many weaknesses for Giannis. So yeah, that's all I gotta say about the Greek Freak. But let's get to who is the better player between Kevin Durant and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I like these kind of debates because it's really tough. You can pick either or, because it's not that big of a gap, because you have guys that do everything on the opposite of their games, as one relies on his skill and his shooting, and the other relies on his athleticism and physicality and his dominance. So this is the type of stuff I like. Two players that arguably the best players in the league right now, and now they're competing against each other. So it's not that, and I like this because there's no gap to say who's definitely the better player. But in my opinion, who I think is the better player between Giannis and KD, give me Giannis. As sure, KD might be the better shooter, arguably the better scorer, but it's not that big of a gap between who's the better scorer between these two, because Giannis, he's still an elite scorer. As people like to talk, sure, he can't shoot like Kevin Durant, or has a bag like James Harden, or hell, he's gonna have a bag like a Kyrie Irving, but Giannis, he's still an elite scorer. And Giannis brings everything to the table. Defense, he can also bring in playmaking. As Kevin Durant, he's not really that elite at everything else, because you could say KD's not bad at it, but he's not elite. While Giannis, it's a wash that he's a better defender than Kevin Durant. And every time you have to build a wall against Giannis, yeah, that shows how dominant he is. And for people saying Kevin Durant has no answers, let's not act like Giannis doesn't have an answer neither. Because if you don't got that wall to stop Giannis, yeah, it's a waste of your time. You cannot stop that nigga. So, in my opinion, I think Giannis is the better player. But if you want to say Kevin Durant's the better player, I got no issue with that. Because like I said, you could pick either or. But in this video, I'm going with the Greek Freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. But that's the end of this video. What y'all think about it? Who's the better player between Giannis or Kevin Durant? As I think Giannis is the better player. But that concludes. Make sure y'all follow me on Instagram. That's the end of this video. This your boy Lil Trady signing out. Peace.